Right then, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good welcome wherever you are and whenever you are. My phone occasionally has been known to beep in the middle of a recording. At any rate, twice in the middle of a recording. At any rate, my name is Paul, I'm also called Knick-Knack, and I occasionally do the daily teaser. Those will be floating around up here or here somewhere once I get this video up on YouTube. And I'm also somebody who talks about film when I get a chance to see one. I also watch TV, and I've occasionally been known to watch shows I like and then tell people about them afterwards. Once my phone shuts up, I tell them about things afterwards. Basically, just recently I've been watching the third season of Star Trek Discovery. It's really rather good. And Saturday night, I got to see episode 7, Unification III. Excuse me. First things first, though, I meant to apologise. As I speak, it's Monday afternoon, and I had planned originally to have this video up on Sunday night, the day after I watched the episode. Unfortunately, I had a flu jab on Saturday, and as they warned me, that left me feeling god-awful on Sunday night. So I'm physically feeling a little better now, and I thought, right, today's the day I write the post and do the video. Episode 7, Unification III, starts with the usual summary of earlier episodes, concentrating on scavengers. It then shifts to the main part of the pre-title sequence and shows us Commander Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, recording her doubts about her job in her personal log, but how she is determined to find out more about the burn. It also shows us how she and Booker Cleveland, David Ajala, are now in a steady relationship. Something she takes a great deal of comfort in. It's something she takes great comfort in, especially after being demoted. Her actions have affected her emotional life and her relationship with her fellow crew members. In particular with Ensign Tilly, Mary Wiseman, who is upset about what's happened. But she's also happy to forgive Michael once she's cleared the air about how she feels about the situation. There's something else the ensign wants cleared as well, Michael's data about the burn. It seems that Ensign Tilly has found a series of experiments known as SB-19 that could be prove instrumental in showing what happened. The problem is that the planet that conducted the research, Navarre, the planet formerly known as Vulcan and now home to both Vulcans and Romulans, that planet, Navarre, is seriously cagey about releasing the details of all of that data. The only person that could possibly argue it out of them is Spock's sister. Now, what did I make of this particular episode? I have to admit, Unification 3, I think, isn't necessarily my favourite episode of the season. I grant you, cast, crew and writers have done a very good job with this episode. As ever, Star Trek Discovery aims at a very high standard. Doesn't always hit it, but it aims at a very good standard. So cast, crew and writers again have done a great job, and the world building is again fantastic. Navarre is Vulcan, for example, now out of the Federation and inhabited by a joint Romulan-Vulcan government, a somewhat fractious Romulan-Vulcan coalition government. Don't get me started on coalition governments, you won't like it. But at any rate, we get to see more of the culture that's dominated the Star Trek franchise over many a year. We find that Michael's mother, Gabrielle, Sonia Son, is now a member of the Romulan Coat Melat, the warrior nuns we last saw in Star Trek Picard. And I still think look a hell of a lot like Star Trek's take on the Bene Gesserit of Dune. The same can be said, talking of good, of the character building. Wiseman as Sylvia Tilly stood out in this episode. Her arc in this series is quite something. She's going from enthusiastically geeky teen to slowly maturing early 20s. Martin Green herself seemed a little over the top in this episode, especially in the scenes where she's having to debate her own mother about the information they need to diagnose the burn. But nonetheless, again, she puts in overall a sterling performance. My big complaint, I think, is that quite simply, Unification 3 is, given it's Vulcans we're talking about here, and Romulans, is a very, very dialogue-heavy episode. Scavengers, the previous episode, was a nicely action-driven adventure. I thought so, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This one's a bit more talky. That is not necessarily entirely to my taste. I prefer a little more action and a lot less chat. The Picard episodes, some of them could be guilty, but they balanced the mix, I felt, a lot better, as have earlier episodes of Star Trek Discovery Series 3. Personally, this one isn't quite to my taste. It's a bit more dialogue driven than I'd prefer, but on the whole, it's another good episode. I'm going to be watching the next episode, however, on Boxing Day, this coming Saturday. It's called The Sanctuary, and we'll have to see how that compares. I'm hoping. Cheers, my dears. For a little more vum. I'll see you next week. I'll hopefully post next Sunday. We'll take it from there. Just as a footnote, this episode featured Admiral Vance doing a briefing for the crew. And I've got to admit, Oded Fair, who plays Admiral Vance, I've worked out who he reminds me of. Vocally, at least. He sounds a lot like James Woods. Go on, tell me differently. But while we're on the subject of lookalikes or sound-alikes, Tara Roslin in this episode plays President Terina of Navarre, and I swear, if I didn't know better, I would swear blind she's the spit of Sharon Osbourne. Go tell me different, I dare you.